This Final Resolution review was brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Try it, and the next time TNA try to recapture that lightning in a bottle they had with LAX, they won't do it with Chavo Guerrero. Okay, Final Resolution review. Let's do this thing. I want that video taken out, damn it. Last time TNA did one of these pay-per-view themed impacts, it was Turning Point, and they ran into that old problem of having too much content and not enough time to feature everything effectively. I'd like to think they learned their lesson this time, because it looks like they took a quality over quantity approach to Final Resolution. If you think about it, they only really covered 5 different things here, so one thing you have to give them, they definitely weren't trying to do too much this time. I thought the Sabin Aries rematch was supposed to happen this week. Apparently not. And that was a good call, because if it had been on this show, they would have run into the same problem they had last month. And actually, they almost still did. Kurt Angle, Bobby Roode, 2 out of 3 falls. This was a good match, but I felt like it needed another couple of minutes because the falls were just coming way too fast. These guys have had matches over 15 minutes long. Why is the first fall happening in less than 5? Had this been a 1-fall match, I think it would have been better, but for 3 falls, the time this had just didn't feel like enough. This was rushed, unfortunately. But Bobby Roode winning was awesome, and the way Kurt Angle sold this was fantastic. In that post-match promo, he was crushed. He looked like he was close to tears because Roode kept outsmarting him, and he was just lost and didn't know what to do about it. Honestly, I thought that promo put over Bobby Roode better than the match did. Angle just looked and sounded completely defeated. I mean, this feud is great. It's made Bobby Roode look like such a stud, and it's given you a lot of reason to rally behind Kurt Angle because he looks like a huge underdog right now. Terrific job there. You know, as I'm watching this Eric Young, Joseph Parks segment, I'm getting really frustrated. And not because it was bad necessarily. The promos from both guys were just fine. But TNA were just too damn late to the party on this for me to care that much. In hindsight, this really should have happened a lot sooner. A lot sooner. And I was talking to somebody on Twitter about this, and I said to him, it's really hard to care that much when you feel like you're 5 steps ahead of the characters, and you're just looking at your watch waiting for them to catch up. And that's what this felt like. Eric is showing Joseph all this hardcore stuff, trying to convince him that he's Abyss. And meanwhile, I'm watching this saying, why the hell are we deliberating this so much? We know how it's going to end. Can we please just get to the point already? It would be one thing if we, the audience, were as shocked by this as Joseph is, and I think that is actually what the writer's intent for the whole thing was. But we've been past that point for so long now. People have been calling the split personality thing for well over a year, and not just the hardcore fans, the casual fans too. The only way this might have worked is if there had been some kind of crazy twist that we hadn't anticipated. But no. It all plays out really predictably. He sees Janice, the wheels in his head start turning, and that's it. Again, I really wanted to like this, but they just waited way too damn long to pull the trigger. And please let that be the one and only time we see Janice in this storyline. That weapon is so stupid. You can't use it without killing someone. We know you're not going to use it, so when you tease that you're going to use it, right there, suspension of disbelief goes out the window.
I will not participate in this charade this evening.
I've never been a fan of the Feast or Fired concept. It's too gimmicky, too similar to Money in the Bank, and there's just way too many holes you can poke in it. And while TNA is not getting a pass on any of that stuff, I have to say, this was probably best case scenario. First of all, remember how I had all those production complaints last week? Well, they fixed all that. The mood music was much more appropriate here, Yeah, it was a little cheesy, but really no different than something you'd see on a reality show. And the quieter setting really helped with that, so the music was used a lot better than last week. The lighting, editing, the camera work, all much, much better. You could tell the production team put a lot of extra effort into this segment. I do wish they had done it in front of a crowd, though. I'm not sure why they did it backstage. If it was to avoid spoilers, those were going to get out anyway, but whatever. Zema Ion gets the X title shot. Cool, cool. Gunner gets the world title shot, and James Storm is pissed. So that eventual split is being set up very well. After that, it got kind of weird. I will say that the tease that Ethan Carter III might get the fired case didn't really work. To their credit, they did try to address this, saying that for legal reasons, which they never really bothered to explain conveniently, if EC3 got the fired case, Dixie would not be able to rehire him, even though she rehired Curryman, a former recipient of the fired case, so that made no sense. I appreciate that they didn't just ignore this little detail like WWE probably would have, but if they convinced one person that EC3's job was ever really in jeopardy kayfabe-wise, I'd be shocked. So then Sting comes in with a proposition. He'll take the case off EC3's hands, so he won't have to risk being fired. And in exchange, all EC3 has to do is have one match with the Stinger. Which he is completely undeserving of, and we all know it, and that's why EC3 turned him down. The honor and the privilege of a match with wrestling's greatest hero is reserved for a very, very exclusive group. Legends, titans of the industry like Shark Boy, Earl Hebner, Jeremy Borash, only those who truly deserve it, and you, my friend, simply do not measure up. You reek of desperation, Sting. Hit the showers. I can't even look at you.
You're nothing but a selfish prick!
What was Sting's plan if EC3 said yes, gave him the case, and it had the pink slip in it? It was funny that EC3 was sweating bullets afraid to get fired, but still kept the case rather than face Sting in a match, but come on, it's 50-50 odds of getting fired if he gives you the case. This was a pretty boneheaded thing for Sting to do.
Ignorance is curable, but stupid is forever.
Even more so when he actually tried to get us to sympathize with Chavo, the most unlikable person in this whole segment. Talking about the Guerrero legacy, and Chavo says that he's had to work twice as hard because he's a Guerrero, baby, lest we forget. And he sweats and toils for everything he's accomplished, and he's truly deserving of a spot on the roster. Oh, come on! Are we really doing this? Get the fuck out of here. This guy has been coasting off his last name for years. Were you watching social media during this segment, TNA? Everyone wanted Chavo gone. Are we really supposed to hate EC3 and Dixie Carter and rally behind Sting because he was showing support for Chavo Guerrero of all people?
I'm laughing at you.
TNA, you did a lot of things right this week, but holy shit, somebody fucked up on that one. Brain fart of the year.
As a result, your arteries are now clogged. You sweat when you eat. And you are all constipated. So
then they open the final two cases. Give Chavo the fired case. Give Chavo the fired case. Give Chavo the fired case. And Chavo gets the fired case. So EC3 and Dixie are hugging and celebrating like he just won the Super Bowl, and Chavo is just sitting there like an idiot going like, fuck! And Sting is ranting and raving about what a horrible injustice this is, but the fans are throwing a fucking party because Chavo is finally gone. Oh, and you gotta love how Hernandez never even bothered to show up. Even his own tag team partner didn't give a shit. This was fucking beautiful. Chavo went out like a complete schmuck. TNA, my hat goes off to you on this one, man. This was fucking gold. So who's going to be EC3's tag team partner? A part of me hopes it's Jay Bradley, because they're about the same size and work similar styles. Their characters are completely different, but they could do stuff with that. Make it like an odd couple type of thing, or make Bradley a servant that EC3 bosses around. And there's some great potential comedy in EC3 giving Bradley some kind of like upper class makeover or something. I mean, there's a lot they could do with that. But on the other hand, I also hope his partner is Rockstar Spud. The promos alone that we could get from those two together would make that worth doing.
Rockstar Spud is in the building!
I really don't have a lot to say about this Knockouts match. Gail Kim and Lady Tapa versus ODB and Madison Rayne. The match was meh. It was boring, stuck in first gear the whole time, and it really didn't make me at all eager to see Tapa versus ODB or Gail versus Madison, to be honest. I don't think either of those matches are going to be all that interesting. I've still got a lot of reservations about Tapa's wrestling. I really don't care about ODB at all anymore. And the absolute last thing I want to see right now is Gail defending the title against a woman who's already been on TV for years and already held the belt 4 damn times. And even if this is leading up to Tapa turning on Gail and taking the title from her, I'm not crazy about that idea either, with Tapa being as green as she is. I'm sure Gail can pull a good match out of her, but could any of the other knockouts do that? Could we please get some more new female talent in the mix already? I was very glad to see TNA correct a big mistake with this Magnus Hardy angle. Now, last week I thought they dropped the ball on making the World Title Tournament Finals feel like a big deal. It was in the wrong spot on the show, the segment itself didn't really deliver, there wasn't enough time spent on hyping the match, but this week it was the exact opposite. Magnus and Hardy got the opening segment of the night. Magnus cuts a better promo than last week and put heat on the angle. See, when I said they needed to put more emphasis on Magnus to prepare him for the world title, stuff like this is what I was talking about. And Hardy was a lot better on the mic here, too. I mean, the guy's never really been known for his mic skills, but hell, the promo he cut before the main event was probably one of the best promos I've seen from him. I will give the writers kudos for trying to do something to make the situation more interesting, having more going on here than just a regular title match. And this business of Magnus accusing Hardy of selling out to Dixie, it was a good try. Yeah, that's the right idea. The problem is they went so overboard with this Jeff Hardy suspicion that you knew it wasn't going to happen. I mean, there's teasing something, and then there's hammering it home so much that you know it just has to be misdirection. So that was overdone, admittedly. Yeah, this time could have been used to hype the match in a different way, and it probably would have been better off. But hey, build-up is build-up. They had the opening promo segment, they got video packages, the whole show built up to this really well, and they did at least do a good job of getting over the idea that Dixie wanted Hardy to be her champion, even though I don't think anyone really thought it would happen. The references to 10-10-10 and Victory Road 2011 were a nice touch. I'm sure a lot of fans would rather forget that stuff, but it still happened. And it made sense that other people like Magnus would bring it up when questioning Hardy's intentions and use that as ammunition against him. That was nicely done. And even if it was a pretty obvious fake-out, it did at least make the situation more tense than it would have been otherwise. So kudos to the nod to history there. It's much better to acknowledge that stuff and use it as storyline fuel than to just pretend it didn't happen. Reference WWE. Alright, what's going on with this sale? I'm getting anxious to say something here. So it's a done deal? Almost finalized? Good. So next week. Yeah. Next week I can finally get this ball rolling. Excellent. I'll talk to you then. The Dixie Land match was very surprising to me. On paper, this thing looked like an overbooked mess waiting to happen. And there was some of that there, but I think they were smart enough with it that it ended up working. First of all, the cage match was very good. Great spots, they're trying to tell a story with it. Hardy hits a whisper in the wind off the top of the cage wall, for Christ's sake. I mean, holy shit. And that might not have been very smart if you're looking to win the match, but would the Jeff Hardy character do it? Of course he would. The cage match was great. This was enough to satisfy the wrestling purist in me, and the overbooking didn't start until after they left the cage. That was smart. They left it alone, they gave us our proper match first. So on the surface, Dixie Land was split into two gimmicks, but really it was split into a cage match and an angle. Now, if I'm understanding this correctly, the story is that Dixie wanted Hardy to be her guy before the match, during the match, right up until that point at the end when he made it crystal clear that he was not on board, at which point she decided maybe we should roll with Magnus instead. That explains why EC3 attacked Magnus first, which was clever. It makes sense in retrospect, I guess. It was a little convoluted, but I got it. I see what they were going for. Rockstar Spud running out to tip the ladder over at the last second was cool, and surprising since we hadn't seen Spud at all up until that moment, except in the 365 video that took place at Dixie's house or something. So Spud proves his worth to Dixie, Magnus takes the opportunity, and he's the new world champion. Hell yeah!
Yes! 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 Yes!
This came off so much better than I thought it would. The action delivered, Magnus had easily one of his best matches, if not his best match. The story made sense. Magnus had been built up as a character that might have good intentions on the surface, but if a shortcut presented itself, yeah, he'd probably take it. And I love how they went off the air. Magnus with the world title, a young dude just 27 years old, EC3 and Rockstar Spud are there, two new, young, entertaining characters. Do we finally have a youth movement going on in this company? Sure hope so.
Yes!
This was great. This exceeded my expectations. The overbooking may not have been for everybody, but I think it worked in this case, though I wouldn't want to see it every week. And some people might not be happy about Magnus as the new champion, but look at this guy. He's 6'4", 250 pounds. He looks like a main eventer. He can cut a good promo. He's a legit crossover star in the UK. Might not be a 5-star worker, but he's improved enough by now that he can hold his own. He's a marketable star, and when you have a guy like that, you'd be stupid not to give him a shot. Keep in mind, they might have just lost AJ Styles. Maybe that's a work and maybe it isn't, but if it's for real, then it leaves a big hole. And they need to bust their asses to create new, young, marketable, viable stars that do good business to fill that hole. Who fits that bill better than Magnus? If not Magnus, then who? This is the kind of guy they should be getting behind, and it looks like they finally are. I'm thrilled about this. No more letting people like this go to waste, like James Storm, who's slowly becoming a cautionary tale about what happens when you drop the ball on the homegrown guys. I thought this was a great segment, and this was a pretty darn good show, too. I really enjoyed this. Didn't like the E.Y. Joseph stuff. The knockout segment did nothing for me. But everything else, I really can't poke that many holes in. As I said, they did a lot of stuff right this week. Good job, TNA. Very good. And that's all for now. See you next time. Over. Out.